Hearties, welcome to the Hearties Hotline. It's been a minute. We've missed you. Sarah, I missed you.
Thank you. I'm back.
Hawk-eyed Hearty is back with her hawk-eyed observations and that lovely signal. What would I do without it?
Not laugh nearly as much, I think.
Oh no, my life would be very boring. Well, welcome to yet another episode of When Calls the Heart. We are recapping season 3, episode 7, Forever in My Heart. Okay, this one starts off really interesting. It goes straight into Lee handing over the list of everyone who's ever had a job. It just takes off running.
Well, I mean, he hasn't been in business that long. It's probably a short list.
Yeah, well, there's only one sheet. There's only one sheet. And I mean, Bill, but what I'm saying is it gets straight down to business.
Yeah, it's shorter than Rosemary's list of New Year's plans.
That's not hard to do. But yeah, so he hands over the list and Bill asks anyone with a score to settle. I'm like, I haven't been in business that long. I haven't fired anybody. How could anybody need to settle a score?
Right.
So then we go to some better news, at least as far as this couple is concerned, not as far as Lee is concerned, because that downer look on his face while she's it's so sad. It's so sad.
Well, and he's just trying to keep up with what she's saying, because who can keep up with what Rosemary's saying? So
nobody, not even if you have a working knowledge of
what are you talking about?
Not even if you have a working knowledge of stage and movies. You just what? Repeat that at about half your speed, please.
Yeah. Well, she was slightly excited.
Just slightly.
I feel like this would be like if you were trying to tell me about something to do with musicals.
Don't get me started. I've tried to educate you. Yeah. No, this would be me trying to tell you I had gotten the lead in a movie musical. That would be probably my level of excitement. So,
well, I wouldn't know, because the only time you've tried to tell me you got a lead was in an April Fool's prank. So I kind of have just a lot of doubt now. I'm like, okay.
I told you I would never pull that prank again. When I told you it happened, it would be for real.
Yeah, I get that. You can't pull the same prank twice anyway. Yeah. That just is boring.
For anyone who is a little lost, so not last year, but the year before, I emailed Benjamin Ayers and I asked him, because he and I had talked before I had interviewed him. Great guy, awesome guy, sadly not in Hope Valley, but
maybe someday.
I know. And you know what, he has a Hope Valley look.
He would be good.
He would be good as a businessman. He would be good as a ruffian. He could pull off a look for several different types of people who come through Hope Valley.
He could chop wood. I mean, somehow we could find a way.
We could. We definitely could. Moving on.
Anyway,
I asked Benjamin Ayers if he would email me saying that he had just talked to a producer and I got to play a part in one of his upcoming movies. And he took it a step further and he recorded a video of himself and said, Cammie, I just got a call and you and I are going to be starring in my next film. We're going to have a Zoom probably next week and talk about our characters and things like that. He didn't say it in the film, but I said I was playing his sister, not his love interest, because I knew no one would buy that. But because I didn't have any credits to my name, not as an adult.
He's an amazing actor, so he almost had me going.
I got her for a minute.
Almost.
Then
I remembered what day it was and I was like, yeah, no. But props, because, getting a Hallmark star to prank your family and friends, pretty top notch.
Thank you. Pretty top notch.
Yeah. I can't think of a way to top that.
You know what? Neither can I. I'm like, I give up.
It was good. It was really good.
But going back to Rosemary's News, that Mary Medford, I think it's a made up name because I
believe it
because
is.
I do not know that name from
the moving picture
history. Nuh-uh. Is to star in The Reluctant Bride, and this was a very clever piece of scene work right here. Oh, the world will be my stage, as if it isn't already.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines. I like how he waited till she walked away. It's like, just said it under his breath. Like,
poor guy, he's going through so much. And so she goes up to Mr. Pope very, very boldly, I think. I mean, that you don't just walk up to a producer.
Yeah.
So she says that she has played Joan of Arc in Joan of Arc. Major Barbara in
Major Barbara.
The Grieving Widow in
Let me guess. The Grieving Widow?
And The Chambermaid in
I don't remember that one. What was that called?
The Chambermaid.
I should have had that.
Yeah, you should have had that one. But yes, she has played the lead in dozens of plays. But when he says you can be Mary Medford's maid, well, that's perfect. I played the chambermaid in The Chambermaid. No, she needs a maid. And I'm an actress.
Yeah, he did not care. He did not care.
Which is why I thought it was really, really interesting when they had their other scene. Because she goes up to Lee to get a little bit of sympathy. She tries really hard to show sympathy at first, and then it gets turned around to her. That is not completely her fault because Lee kind of turns it to her.
He doesn't want to open up about what's going on.
No, but she says, you look how I feel, and never mind. What's got you so down? And he asks her that. I know he doesn't want to open up, but I still see this as really unselfish. Yes. His business is falling apart. It is falling apart before his eyes. Timber, if you'll pardon the pun. And
kind of lack of timber is more.
Yeah, it was the lack of timber. But that was good. But it is falling to the ground. And he's saying, never mind, what has you so down? And that's all the prodding she
cares about her.
Yeah.
And wants to know. It was, like you said, it was not simply not wanting to talk about it. There was an essence of that, but it was also that he truly also wants to know.
Yeah. And inadvertently, he gives her the idea to perform for Mr. Pope.
Where are you going to start your plan?
So this is what I thought was kind of interesting. We have this whole scene where it's the revelation, it's the self-revelation inside Mr. Pope. Have you ever wanted something so much you thought your heart would simply stop beating, and then when it was within your reach, it was taken from you? And he sits there and thinks about it after the very witty quip of like some peace and quiet. But he sits there and thinks about it, and then he says, D.W. Griffith. He had an example immediately like that, and he was well qualified and was not given the chance, and it obviously has stuck with him throughout his entire career. And so they have this moment together, but then when you see them again, he goes right back to being annoyed with her.
Well, he gave her the chance, and here she's pushing. He was appeasing her. And also, I'm kind of curious because he had an extra script sitting right there, and he said everything was cast, and then all of a sudden he has a part. Like, who was gonna be the saloon girl? Did he
Maybe
just,
he asked Elizabeth and she said no.
did he have to let somebody go?
Florence refused to be that provocative. I don't know. So we have all of that, bonding moment and that self-revelation within him. And then he's about to fire her. The word is at his mouth. And then we hear a very smooth voice, Rosemary Laveau. And we turn and da-da-da-da.
James Addison.
James Addison, played by Lachlan Monroe. Okay, this guy, we've said it before, but this guy, he can do anything.
Yeah.
And I've seen him do everything.
Right? We've seen a lot of
Yes.
stuff with him, specifically on Hallmark, but I mean, he's been around. And, most recently we talked a lot about his role in Big Sky River.
Yep.
With Kevin. And so that was kind of fun.
I know.
How, they didn't have any scenes together in this episode, but I think they do coming up. Yeah, he's just a fun guy to watch.
I've seen him be a dad. I've seen him be a CEO. I've seen him be the romantic. I've seen him be the best friend. I've seen him play a gangster. I mean,
Yep.
he really can pretty much do anything they put in front of him.
Yeah.
I
agree.
He's fantastic.
Perfectly cast for this role as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Just that gray suit. He looks so sharp, and
he just carried himself with that air of authority and power that, but at least to a certain point, very respectable and sophisticated.
And there was that slight degree of awe, because he was standing in the presence of Rosemary Laveau, an actress that he greatly admired. He saw her in The Grieving Widow 3 times. So yeah, he had everything right there. He had respect. He commanded respect. He had the authority. He had the refinement. And then he was just the tiniest bit starstruck, which you don't see in a moving picture owner.
Right.
They know their hot stuff because moving pictures are the hot new thing. So,
do you think he overheard what Mr. Pope was saying? Do you think he came in and could tell where this was going and that he was not liking Rosemary at that moment? Because it seemed like he cut in, not just having walked in and spotted her and saying her name. It seemed like he cut in because he was trying to avoid the situation. And yet also phrased it in a way of like, how did you land her, in a way to appease his producer? Like, I still got your back, but you're wrong.
You're not fired, but don't you dare say another word.
Don't do that again, because if you go along with what I want, I'll give you the credit for hiring her.
Right. And the last thing we hear him say in this episode is, how would you like to become a movie star? Well, that's the only thing you gotta say to Rosemary Laveau, and she's gone. So,
yes.
So she's on cloud 9. We'll just say bye-bye to Rosemary and watch her float away. Back down on Earth, we are having trees being spiked. So it ruins the equipment. I mean, the way that accidents were piling up before this episode was bad enough.
And then it just keeps coming.
And then there's an accident a day. I mean, we are seeing Wade come in, more bad news. We are seeing Hickam say, we're going to have to shut down. and just boom, 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 boom. There is no way that this can be bad luck.
Right.
None.
And luckily Jack is aware of that. Bill is aware of that. They know something is actually happening here. They're making great efforts to try to figure out what it is. Obviously no spoilers, because this is in another episode that we find more out about what's actually happening. But so at this point in this episode, everything it was really pointing at Gowan at the beginning of this. And why shouldn't
Raise
it?
your hand if you suspected Gowan. Me.
Who else is it gonna be? Right? It's always Gowan. At back season 3, Gowan was no fun person to be around.
Speaking of Gowan, Nora's back.
She might think he's fun to be around. I mean, there's that, but
yeah, Nora's back. He takes her on a frozen picnic.
Who does that?
Oh no.
It looked so cold. When did they film this? Most seasons have been filmed kind of in the summer, but I think the early seasons were not.
I don't think so, but I do know that some even more recent seasons have gone, the filming has gone into December. So
it's gone quite a bit later.
I don't know. I have no idea when this scene was filmed, but yeah, it cold.
Looked so cold.
Yeah.
And they're like bundled up. He's got his like fur jacket and hat. I'm like, oh.
Not romantic, but there was a purpose. At least he was showing her the land, which you can't have.
Get out of here. Yeah.
You can't have it, Henry. You can't have it. But yeah, he was showing her the land, saying that Clem Besser is selling the land, and that's when we figure out, oh,
he's the guy. He's the guy.
He's the guy. I've got another man eyeballing the place, is what Mr. Besser said at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that other guy is Gowan. And no.
Interesting that you've got this small little town. You've got apparently very little available real estate in the area. Even though there's nothing for miles around the town, you'd think there'd be some other options, but
you think.
And the only two people vying over this property are people that want to move forward and start new chapters in their lives.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that, but what I can say to that is I think everybody else in town at this point, at least the ones that we know of, are pretty settled.
Yeah.
The widows, they all get to stay in their homes, and that was settled in season 1.
Right, in the row house.
Well, season 1/season 2. So they're all staying, and so they're all settled. And there are row houses that are empty, which obviously there is one that Elizabeth rents and then fixes up. We don't really have anybody that needs that big open space. The only other people I can think of are the settlers,
right? Which I mean,
they're not ready to
have
a home. Yeah, they're not. They're living in tents, and they're barely scraping by with the rent that Gowan is making them pay. So they're still trying to get settled in their life in Hope Valley. So yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but it makes sense to me that there really wouldn't be anybody trying to move in on the land except for Gowan, because even though he does want to start a new chapter in his life, he has a home in town, obviously, because Nora asks about it, but he just has to have everything.
And it also, knowing that it's him, makes more sense why Mr. Besser would try to cut Jack a deal. He would prefer to sell to him. I think probably anybody would prefer anybody over Gowan.
Yeah, let's see. Jack Thornton, Henry Gowan. At this point, it ain't no contest.
No. Really, at no point is that a contest. If that's you're too
No,
opposing
no,
sides.
no, not really.
Love Henry in the last season, but
Yes, I know you do.
never gonna compete against Jack Thornton.
No, sorry.
Not happening.
But of course, we have the very witty line, don't wait too long, buy the house or start the family. Oh, the Thornton wit.
So witty. Mm-hmm.
So witty. So going back to town, specifically with Lee, we have Nosy Nellie in the form of Florence.
That's the other best line of the night, really, is her saying, I don't want to be nosy. You?
You?
No.
Lee
Nobody else
really,
could have said that to Florence. Nobody else
could have gotten away with it.
For some reason, she let him get away with that.
There is no way. But so
even Molly couldn't have said that.
Oh gosh, no. Well, no.
Not
no,
in that tone. Not in that tone.
No, not in that tone. But he reassures her that no, it's just routine maintenance, even though there are constant accidents happening. And
he knew she didn't believe him.
Yeah, of course not. And Wade has so much free time that he has the time to help Elizabeth fix a step.
Oh,
because Jack ain't happy.
Again, we've talked about this.
Yes.
She wants to do everything for herself. Now she's letting Wade do everything for her. It is a little bit odd. I can see a bit of Jack's jealousy in that because she wouldn't let him help.
He's very helpful.
Yeah. I will say, we were coming off of season 2 with Charles and all the drama and the back and forth and the jealousy. And then Faith came to town and everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're still in a triangle. Oh my gosh. And then Wade came to town and you're like, oh. Watching this live, it was tough because you're like, where are they going with this? But looking back on it now, I like how there was not any serious threats to their relationship, but yet there was something on both sides to make the other one a little uncomfortable. And so it made it an more even playing field.
Yeah.
Both of them made jokes about it.
Yeah. And see, that's why it never really bothered me. I don't know, watching it live, it didn't give me stress. And
even rewatching this one.
Yeah.
The stuff between Jack and Elizabeth didn't make me nervous. They were very playful. They were very engaging. They were kind of flirtatiously teasing. But like an example would be the scene with Abigail and Elizabeth when she makes a comment like, if only I could trust Faith with Jack.
Yep.
And that kind of hit a little heavier and felt a little more like, oh, is she really nervous about this? Because she's not acting really nervous about it with Jack. But then you hear a comment like that and you're kind of like, ooh.
And then Jack, he's not hiding his annoyance with Wade.
He's pleasantly hiding it from Wade.
Oh yeah, he's pleasantly hiding it from Wade, but when he's talking to Elizabeth, isn't that just a fancy word for he gets on people's nerves? Like,
yeah,
oh,
no, totally. But in contrast, Faith totally knows that Elizabeth's a little uncomfortable with her.
Probably. Do you think that Wade knows? That's my question for the day. Do you think that Wade knows?
I think he's not stupid. Jack certainly integrates himself into the conversations that Wade and Elizabeth are having. Mm-hmm. I would think it'd be somewhat obvious, if not that he's jealous, but just that he's asserting his place in Elizabeth's life.
Okay, follow-up question. Was Wade playing Elizabeth?
I think that's a follow-up question for once we've gotten further into the season.
No. I'm just saying, do you think that he was trying to make Jack jealous and he was trying to get Elizabeth to like him? Or do you think he was
I
just...
think there may have been some ulterior motives there, but I think it's tied to what we find out in future episodes.
Okay,
I don't think it's easy enough to answer right now.
Fair enough. So we're going to insert this right here that we would be talking about Edith and baby Oliver and the husband that Jack finds, Roy. However, we are purposefully skipping that part because
we have something very top secret and exciting.
Something very special planned for a future episode. So no, we did not forget about
Sometime
it.
Very soon, next couple of weeks, you will find out what our top secret mission has been. But yes, for now, we're gonna put the Settlers story on the back burner because there's more to come in the season about that, and we're gonna cover it more in depth later.
So let's go to the kids. Becky has been released from the hospital. She comes back. Cody hears her voice. What?
Hey! Oh,
Pow. So,
like, there's a theme on this show I'm noticing. People not sharing.
One in shock.
In season 1, Mr. Miller comes back from the hospital without a leg. Nobody knew that he was coming back without a leg.
And there's a huge jaw-dropping session.
Now we're in season 3. Here comes Becky. Everybody knows Becky's coming, and she shows up in a wheelchair. And
another jaw-dropping session.
What's happening? Wait, this is not something you share to the guardian of the child? I'm just going to spring it on this woman who's volunteered out of the goodness of her heart to care for these 2 orphans. I'm not going to tell her.
So tell us that, Dr. Burns. Come on.
I love Dr. Burns, Jason Cermak, one of my favorite guest stars. But oh, Dr. Burns, this is maybe where some extra bedside manner would come in.
With a little due process. That would be nice.
You're hoping this woman is going to adopt these children. Let's just not mention the wheelchair.
Maybe she won't notice.
La 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 la.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because I hate to blame Dr. Burns because he was so sweet about it. You know, he said there's nothing wrong with her legs.
Right.
I wanted to bring her back to help her get the love and support that she needed so she wouldn't heal alone, because then she'll never get up and walk.
Which I think is totally valid. It just, yeah. Whoa, surprise.
My only defense would be that he wrote her a letter and it didn't get there in time, but then they have the telegraph.
Yeah, he sent her a wire.
He sent her a telegram and she didn't go and pick it up. That's the only defense I got for the man.
Right. Yeah. Not to mention, isn't Faith working with Dr. Burns? She went back.
Yes, but she's been gone for a while. So
a little while. I feel like they're yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows?
You got me. I got nothing. Another question of the day. Do you agree with Abigail or do you agree with Elizabeth?
Oh,
when it comes to Becky.
Being patient.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just being patient, but I don't know. This to me, this borders on indulging just a teeny bit.
So this is the kind of situation where the teacher in me feels like it's so great that there's both of them.
Right.
It's like,
yes.
It's like you need to have somebody kind of pushing to keep people from being complacent and not trying things.
Yeah.
But you also need somebody to let them have their moments.
Mm-hmm.
And the line that Abigail said, she has to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's ultimately where, if I had to pick a side, that's what I would go with, is that line more than Abigail's whole theory and approach. But she has to want to do it herself. She will not, at this point, she's so far down this path.
Mm-hmm.
And in denial about what she can do. Nobody telling her she can is going to work. I'm sure that Dr. Burns has told her there's nothing physically wrong with your legs. Like, she's
get up and walk to me.
Yeah, she's old enough to have had that conversation with at least one doctor while she was in the hospital. So she knows she can't accept it yet. And she doesn't feel safe anywhere yet. So to me, it wasn't until she'd had that conversation with Abigail about the future and where she belongs that she could start to have faith in herself.
And then she was left completely alone.
Right. It wasn't somebody pressuring her to do it. And it wasn't somebody telling her she didn't have to. It was all on her own.
And it was nobody making it easier for her and saying, oh yeah, here you go.
Yeah. So it honestly was kind of, I felt like both those characters and both those approaches had to happen simultaneously.
I'll allow it.
I like to not answer your questions in a straightforward manner.
You do not like to answer my question.
I answered it. I just did not give
in a very roundabout way.
Yeah.
But she does it. She gets up on her own and she grabs her notebook. Now she can't run in circles yet. She's got to do it little by little, but she stood. Yeah. She stood. She took a step or two to grab her notebook. And like you said, it was after she was told by Abigail that Abigail wanted her. Mm-hmm. Because I think that she let her guard down as far as Cody was concerned, because she knew that Cody would be taken care of. And so that was off her mind because she's his big sister. She wants to take care of him. But as far as she's concerned, she has no idea where she's going to end up. And then when Abigail tells her that when she was sick, it was like watching her own daughter go through that horrible experience and that she wants her, then yeah, just like you said, I think that she felt safe and she felt secure and she had motivation. If this is going to be my home, then I need to do something about it and I need to get comfortable with these surroundings.
You're in my heart, and that's where families are born.
I love that line. I love that
so
line.
Beautiful.
And that's you, babe.
Aww.
You're in my heart, and that's where families are born. I
love you. Oh,
you permit that sentimental moment.
Yeah, there you go.
And then it all gets ripped away, it feels like, and just crashes down to the floor when we see this beautiful woman coming into the cafe and saying, I'm looking for Becky and Cody Hastings. I heard they were staying with you, which
I'm sure at this first moment that Abigail's thinking it's like the social worker that Dr. Burns mentioned or something.
That's a good point. Yeah.
She knew that there was paperwork she was going to have to fill out.
Did it occur to you, this just now occurred to me, that the word staying bothered Abigail a little bit, that it kind of made her bristle just a tiny bit. They're not staying with me. They live with me. They are my family now. Enough for there to be an emotional attachment, and staying is not.
I think that was.
Do you think it made her bristle? I don't think that she was going to.
I don't think bristle is. I don't know that bristle's the right word, but
okay,
it definitely took her aback. She was definitely aware.
Staying.
She was definitely aware of that wording, and it didn't sit well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the thing. Like, obviously, we'll go into that more when we review the next episode, but with that character, I think that's the one thing, and you can see it in this scene, that is how she is seeing the situation. She's not coming here thinking that these children have bonded with Abigail.
Yeah.
She's not coming here thinking that the plan was for them to stay with her. She's coming here thinking
shelter, and clothing.
This is a person who stepped up and took them in when there was nobody else to do it. I'm very grateful to them. And now I will let them go about their life.
And I'll take them and
I'll sweep in and now do, the right thing. I mean, in her mind, she's doing the right thing by coming there.
Well, and on paper, it is the right thing.
Because you don't know.
She's their closest relative.
These kids have no one on paper.
Yeah.
At this point.
And she's their closest relative. And you can tell, we'll discuss it more in the next episode, but you can tell she's very well off.
Yeah. And could provide a good life.
Yeah. Very easily.
Yeah.
But as a viewer, you just go,
oh, go away. Right. Really quick, 2 things that I noticed in the school scenes.
Okay.
One, we're talking about Becky coming back. Yay, sisters, blah, blah, love. I wish I had a big sister, said Anna, right? Robert said, you can have mine. Robert's got a big sister. I don't feel like we see her in 10 years. So that was a fun little tidbit. We know in a future season he has a baby sister, but I do not recall an older sister. So that's
maybe she's already moved on.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna go with. But yeah, fun little tidbit that I did not remember. So I wanted to bring that up. And second of all, Opal and her career aspirations.
Well, hold on. First, she just does a science project on zoology.
Right. We don't get to that yet. But
yeah.
Her and her little bear. Oh.
And how she has Brownie reading the book.
So sweet. And I love this example as a teacher. I love this example of you're doing one project with the class, but there can be all these different levels for all these different ages and abilities. And I love that.
Yeah. And this is one, because as a teacher and a mom, part of me says, will you please get that bear out of school? He is a distraction. He is
no.
But the viewer in me loves watching the interaction.
Okay, so here we go, Hearties. This is the real question of the day. Get rid of Cammie's questions of the day. This is the real one. Brownie or no brownie?
That's not fair.
I'm going to start the hashtag save brownie for anyone that supports me and having brownie in school. You can hashtag save brownie.
Are you serious right now?
Uh-huh. I'm totally serious right now.
I could edit this out,
And tag at Hardy's Hotline with that hashtag. Okay. And then for those of you that disagree with me, you just stay off Twitter. Do you have a hashtag? Do you have a hashtag for the opposite side here?
Hashtag Sarah's wrong.
Good luck getting that to trend.
Oh gosh, now you gotta make me think. Okay, are you getting serious right now?
So for those on Cammy's side, hashtag no bears in school.
Fine.
There you
No
go.
bears in school.
Let's see. Tag us so we know what you guys are voting for. And
because we do know that in the future, bears in school is a very bad idea.
Oh, yeah, real bears.
Had to.
We'll get on board with that.
Oh, thank you.
Please don't bring real bears to school, people. I'm not advocating for that.
Oh, God. At least you draw the line somewhere.
And on that note, did you have one other thing?
Yes, I did. Am I allowed to make it now? I am going to point out the two very fun and wonderful, in my opinion, Jack and Elizabeth scenes. So they are quick, but they are lovely. First one is in the beginning of the episode, and I put it right here. I don't there we go. Do you see the big red there?
Light.
It says light in his eyes before even speaking. That is one thing I absolutely love about Dan's acting. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
His eyes.
I'll keep saying it.
His eyes.
His eyes are so expressive, and they light up while he's climbing the steps, even before he opens his mouth. And then you hear him say, "Need a ride, miss?" You know exactly who he's looking at before she even comes on camera, before he says a word.
He's a man in love.
He's a man in love. But this is just a fun little scene. I just think that the conversation is fun. It's just a fun little bit of flirty banter. Need a ride, miss? I'm not in the habit of accepting rides from strangers. Well, I'm a Mountie. You have to trust me. It's the law.
It is.
It is.
It's the law. Yeah.
But then we go over to a scene that's a bit more serious. And I don't know. There's just something very sweet about this scene. It's right after Wade has been very helpful, in Jack's words, to finish fixing the step with her, because she was doing it on her own. Yeah. You have to admit that.
She was
hammering it on her own, but it was his hammer. And he was guiding every whoa, every step of the way. But then once he gets past his annoyance, he starts to confide in her, telling about Edith, which is the part we're not talking about. And Elizabeth says, "Do you know what happened?" And you can tell he's agitated. And he says, "No." And she very wisely says, "But you're going to find out." And then, that could have ended.
That would have been enough.
Yeah, it could have.
Yeah.
He could have just smiled and said, "Yes, I will." But instead, he takes it a step further. "Should I be worried you're starting to read my mind?" And then she starts playing along, maybe a little. "Can you tell what I'm thinking right now?" I hope so. I'm okay.
Yeah. And we can't end the episode without talking about the drape pull. So cute.
The
When she spies on him.
You know, in the bloopers, there are a ton.
I know, and he's pulling it down and
mistrials.
it's like flipping up.
And she's making faces in the window. But when he gets it in the episode,
yeah,
it's priceless.
It is priceless. And I love how she's looking in almost like she doesn't know he sees her.
I can be stealthy.
I'm being so sneaky behind this.
Will you excuse me for just a moment?
This clear glass window. He'll never know.
And then once again, we get a little bit of Dan's snarkiness in Jack with that little smile, like, when he pulls down the shade, because he's being a man of mystery.
Yeah. So sweet.
I always like ending the episode on the fun stuff because then it just leaves you with a fun feeling. And so that is what we have for you for this episode of Forever in My Heart. There are, since we like to talk about titles, there are a lot of people that I think can be referred to as being forever in my heart. Obviously, we have Jack and Elizabeth, but I think we have Becky and her father, because she says that drawing these pictures helps her feel close to her dad. We have Abigail with Becky and Cody. And
even though obviously it's a totally different type of subject, even Faith talking about how she will always love Peter, even though they weren't right for each other and wanted different things, he's going to stay in her heart. That's still going to be part of her story.
And Edith and Roy, we've had our differences, but he's the only man I've ever loved. So there are lots of people who are forever in lots of people's hearts. So this episode was very well named.
Yes.
Join us on our next episode when we dive even deeper into season 3, and maybe we'll have a surprise or two for you. Bye, Hearties.
Bye, Hearties.